I am more than positive you're ready to put 2020 in the rear view, but I feel like I'd be derelict of duty if I didn't ask you how you navigated through this last year. Like you
Ooh,
being an entertainer who thrives off of crowds, like that palpable energy and like their collective reactions with the world upside down.
that
What have your last 10 months been like? How did you maneuver through everything between last March and now?
yeah, it was an interesting run for sure. The 2020 year. I think I did what I would have normally done. Growing up as a magician, man, I was an entrepreneur, so I understood the hustle that it takes, and the strategery that goes into being an entertainer,
Yep.
and so all I did was as I saw the writing on the wall and was projecting my year of performing, not performing. What am I going to do with all this time that's changing for me that I'm not used to? So I tried to maximize the pandemic, or the change that I had, as much as I could during these past 10 months. In terms of I filled my time when I realized I wasn't going to be getting back on stage. And don't get me wrong, that took a lot. That was harder on me than you think. As an entertainer, who's someone who's been on stage since I was 10 to this year, I've never not been performing. It was weird to have that ripped away, and I really did feel that, like, because I guess I really do feel like I'm an applause whore, and so when that disappeared, man, that was some getting used to, because I was just so
Right.
used to just getting in my car every day, driving down to Pittsburgh and doing a show, whether it 52 Up Close at the hotel, or if I was doing one of my other shows at Liberty Magic. I was ingrained into a steady diet of applause, and to have that just ripped away from me was kind of was a new experience for sure. I never thought that could be possible. But when I figured that I couldn't be on stage at the moment, I had to look at not only the entrepreneurial and the business element of my career. I also looked at this opportunity as a time to really reflect on what I did to get where I am today, and to plot my next journey. So I spent a lot of time writing, working on those. I have a stack of files in my office of the ideas that I'll get to eventually. And so that stack of file came into play very quickly, because I had time to really look at these ideas and expand on them and write on them and go and start to plan. It's funny, is like during the time going into the pandemic, right in March, I actually had a deal in place with a network to do a TV series, and we
Really?
were
Anything
yeah.
that you can divulge?
I can talk a little bit about it because of how the year went through. I can tell you some of the things that have happened with that project. It was a really strange thing, because in 2019, I had just come off the show Houdini's Last Secrets on Discovery Channel, and there was talk of us doing a season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And as we got into that dialogue, the network decided that they didn't want to go with a season 2. There were some details that popped up, and so we decided to then start focusing on an individual project, or a brand new project just for me. And that was with the production company that helped me create Houdini's Last Secrets that I worked on. And so whenever we started going down that path, we decided to create a new sizzle for a brand new idea of a show that I worked with the production company on. So we filmed in Pittsburgh in late of 2019. And as that project started to gain traction, the sizzle reel was cut. It was then pitched and sold as I believe an 8-episode show or series for the
Oh,
network.
nice.
Yeah, that would have been international. So we were trying to film in Japan and China, So we were trying to go all over the world with this stuff.
Yeah, so
And
nothing
then,
that big.
what's that?
Nothing that big then, you know.
Nothing too. Well, yeah, and even the ideas that I would be doing on the show, they were big. Like, they were big ideas. And as we were getting into all the, you know, the details of, you know, contracts and, you know, creative and all that was starting to line up, we then put the pilot filming on the calendar, and I got set in stone for the end of March. Yeah, to film the pilot. And it was a pilot plus 7, meaning, like, you know, we filmed the pilot and then we potentially were going on to film 7 more episodes and having the show come out at the end of 2020.
Right.
So, and that was how it was supposed to go. It didn't go that way. So once the world
spoiler
changed,
alert, it didn't go that way.
Yeah, hindsight being 2020, I wish it would have. But because it would have been an incredible year. But being that, you know, once the writing was on the wall that we weren't going to be filming internationally, that was off the table. You know, we were, you know, network was chopping episodes and the amount of money, and, you know, so it was a snowball effect to get to even where I got in 2020 with the pandemic and the potential of a TV series. So as we were still trying to film this pilot, we kept getting pushed because of COVID. And we got to a point where I was going to shoot it in July in Austin, Texas. And if you think Texas in July is not a good combination of ideas outside and cameras and
a little warm.
A little warm. So,
little warm.
But, you know, we were desperate. We wanted to just get this pilot filmed because the network wanted it, because, you know, in a way Hollywood was in a weird transition. They weren't creating new content, but yet they were still producing content to be created. So we wanted to get it made because we knew if we got it made in 2020 and we got it in their hands, you know, one of being the only people to film a pilot in 2020, that's I'm sitting in a rare company.
Right.
So
I think a lot of people's standard for quality, and not to say that yours wasn't going to be quality, but like, I think a lot of people's standard for quality for things that they've seen in 2020 has dropped pretty drastically. Like, people are telling me that they're watching certain things, like, you got to check it out, it's great. And then I sit down and I watch it and it's like okay at best. And I'm like, we're desperate.
We are currently living through the TikTok generation.
Yeah, we're desperate.
Yeah. And it's just like we're consuming media so hard now and so fast that, but no, when you can create something that's good and long, people will appreciate it, and you'll get their time. I was amazed when Houdini's Last Secrets came out, the amount of people, one, that watched it live every Sunday night, because, like, watching television live just wasn't a thing, right? That escaped us for I feel like a long time, because we live in such a generation of where we just record and we come back to it and we watch it at our own leisure. So I was impressed with how many people were watching my show live. And then I was really impressed with, one, the amount of people just in this area, like after shows, of people that would come up to me and say, I watched your show, I watched all 4, I binged it in a week. Like, that was that was really cool to hear how many people were not only just like watching like 5 minutes of it, but were watching the entire arc of all 4 episodes. And then to hear what the numbers were on the show. So the show did really, really well in all the demographics. And so that's why there was a talk of a potential more episodes. But like you said, like, we consume media so differently these days that when you're trying to make media during a pandemic, it is complicated, man. But I was able to get 1 episode filmed for it.
Oh, okay.
And we ended up shooting it in end of September. So we got pushed all the way to the end of September. Now, the crazy thing is that they originally I was going to fly in, film for 10 days, fly out. But because of COVID, the network was so nervous of having me flying to Texas, because the chance, like, if I would contract COVID, I shut down the entire operation because it's my show. I'm on camera.
Whereas we've all heard Tom Cruise. We know.
No. I just mean like if someone else gets it,
Yeah,
we can navigate, right? Where the network's spending all this money to film, where if so this is what was crazy about it. They asked me to drive. So I had to drive. Yeah, that's what sucked. So trust me, I wish they could have treated me Tom Cruise like, and they could have just rolled out the jet. I didn't get the jet.
Did you see? Did you watch Andrew Schultz Saves America?
Yes.
He caught COVID like right at the beginning of shooting that. They had to shut the whole production down. Everybody on the team got it.
I had heard the story. Yeah.
Yeah. So that as soon as you said that, I was like, this actually happened. Like it's not just a precaution that they want to take. Yes. That's like, it's a little over the top.
That would have happened. They were spending a lot of money on to produce. I mean, like way more than like it really did feel like when I was on set, because it's an escape show and I'm doing big escapes. And when I was on set and I was like looking around and seeing that there was like 40 people all doing stuff and EMTs and police and it was wild. There was a gallery of people that were up on a hill that were just random people that were, lived in the neighborhood that were filming because they thought they were going to see somebody famous. Like, it really did feel like a day on like Mission Impossible set. Like, but no, it went really, really well. We were able to get one episode in the can, and then back to Pittsburgh I came. But what's funny is when I was down in Texas filming this for 10 days, when I filmed Houdini's Last Secrets in 2019. On my first episode of that show, I do the Houdini water torture cell escape. And so the Discovery Channel, they made that specifically for me.
Okay.
And being when the show wrapped, there was a gigantic water torture cell just sitting there. And it was like, what are you guys doing with this thing? And it was like, can I have it? And of course they were like, yeah, it's yours. It was made for you. So I was like, great. How do I get it? You know what I mean? It's a gigantic, super, super, super heavy piece of apparatus. So I told the network, I said, listen, can you just put this in your warehouse and I'll find a time to get it here, to get it back to Pittsburgh, right? Well, over the course of the next year, I never did. I left it down there, right? So whenever we decided to film the pilot in Austin, Texas, I knew that was where my water torture cell was. That's where it's stationed, right? So whenever the network said, we want you to drive because of COVID, I used it as an opportunity to get a truck. So I asked them.
Nice.
So I asked them to get me a flatbed truck. They did. And so after the last day of filming, I took my rental truck. I went over to where the warehouse was, where the water torture cell was, and I loaded that thing onto the back of the truck, and I drove it 1,800 miles all the way back to Pittsburgh. And now I have the water torture cell from Houdini's Last Secrets in my garage.
So how mobile is it? So how, like,
not very mobile.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you gonna do with it now?
So two things. I got two plans for it. One is I'm gonna be using it again at some point in time in the near future for either a big performance in town, something Houdini 100-esque, or it may get used in a live show down the line.